How long should your podcast be? That is a great question. And the answer is, I have no idea. It's gonna depend. Every podcast is gonna be dramatically different. And here are some of the criteria that you wanna think through in determining how long your podcast should be, or more accurately, how long each episode of your podcast should be. So the first thing you wanna think about is audience preference. What does your audience want to consume? If your audience are business people that are busy, they probably want a short podcast. If your audience is listening when they're in their leisure time or when they're on their walks, they might be interested in a much longer conversation. And so know your audience, know what their listening activities are like, and cater your show to those activities. Next, consider the format of your show. Different shows have different formats that allow for different lengths of time. So for example, on one of our shows, Tech Talk Y'all, it's a tech news podcast, we actually have different segments. So we have the major segment of our show, about 80%, is all of the current technology news. Then we have another segment that is weird and wacky, so just kind of strange, crazy things that come out of the news related to technology that we just like to talk about because it's fun and goofy. And then another segment that is tech recs or tech recommendations, where we talk about a favorite app or tool or something that we've gotten that week that we want to recommend to the general public. And so that allows us to do a slightly longer show because it has 3 defined segments. Those segments all have, kind of value in and of themselves. So just sort of understand what the format of your show is, what the limitations are. I mean, for example, a solo show, just you talking, trying to do that for an hour would be a disaster, but having a really interesting conversation for an hour with somebody that's really fascinating might be fantastic. Also consider the complexity of your topic. A very complex topic in a 5-minute show probably don't mesh very well. An incredibly simple topic that can be covered in 5 minutes and trying to drag that out to 15 or 20 or an hour probably isn't a good idea. So consider the complexity and how deep of a dive you need to take. Next, look at your listener engagement and metrics. As you start to have podcast episodes, you'll get an idea of what the listener engagement is. You'll get an idea of when they drop off or how long they listen, and that'll give you an idea of what to do more of. I would recommend that you look back at the data for each of your episodes and see which ones perform well, which ones have do people stay on longer, which ones have more downloads, and try to do more of that and glean knowledge and understanding from that. And then last, consider your production capacity. I mean, if you just don't have much time, then maybe you should do a 10-minute, 15-minute interview podcast, do 0 editing, tack on an intro, tack on an outro, and be done. But if you've got time and you can really dive deep, you can do one of those 2-hour podcasts and do a lot of editing and do a lot of production and really make it refined and ready for the audience. But it's going to depend on what kind of production capacity you have, either in skill and time for yourself or in dollars that you can invest in having someone else do it. So that's exactly how long your podcast episodes will be. I did not give you a number because there is no number. It's got to be the number that's right for you. But hopefully this framework helps you make a good decision.